Okay, this video is going over the directions for the Civil War Timeline Project. So, to start out, timelines offer a unique way to view multiple events as they occurred throughout time, and they provide a good visual to understand the time period that you are studying. As a group, you will put together a timeline of military, political, and social events that occurred during the Civil War. Each individual in the group will be responsible for providing one event per category. So there will be one event in the military category, one event in the political category, and then one event in the social category for each year of the war, with the exception of the last year. So, what I did here was create a table to give you kind of a visual of what that will look like. Okay. So, there are technically kind of 5 years that we're going to be covering for the Civil War. So, 1861, 1862, 1863, 1864, and 1865. So, if you are group member number one, you can see that you will be providing for each year of the war, with the exception of 1865, one military event, one social event, and one political event. Okay. So, for each year of the war, that means that there will be three military events, three social events, and three political events because there are three people in a group, and each person needs to have one event per category per year. Now, when you are doing this, your timeline will have a total of 39 events spanning the entire war. For each of the events, you will need to include the following information. You want to make sure that you put your name down so that you can get credit for your work. Then you would name the event. You would include what category that event fits in, the date of that event, or if it's an event that took place over several days, then you would want to include that date range. So, for example, if you're going to include the Battle of Gettysburg as your military event for the year of 1863, that's a 3-day battle. So you would want to make sure that you include all 3 days in the date. Then you need to have a description of the event. So 4 to 5 full sentences that describe what happened during that event, and then at least 2 pictures. So, because it is a timeline, your events must be in chronological order and you cannot have multiple of the same events. So, again, if I'm going to use that the Battle of Gettysburg as an example for 1863, if I'm using that as my military event, then the other two people in my group cannot use that. Okay, so an event can only be used one time. So, as a group, you will want to discuss who will be doing what events for each year so that you don't have duplicate events. Remember, your events must fit into one of the following category. So, military events, this includes battles or skirmishes, changes in leadership, inventions of new weaponry, or an other approved idea that you bring to my attention. Then there are political events. This includes laws that were passed, elections that occurred, speeches that could have been made, or political movements, or again, another approved idea that would fit into the political events category. And your social events could include life on the home front. I also think speeches could be included in social events as well. New inventions, I think, could also be included in social events. It kind of depends on what that invention is. Lifestyle changes and or another approved idea. The events that you choose can be events that we have read about during our class lessons, or they can be events that you research on your own. To help you research your events, a resource page has been created in Canvas. And on this resource page, you will find links to helpful documents, websites, and or videos about the Civil War. To check your progress as an individual, you will turn in events papers. These will be assignments to check your understanding of the class lessons and to preview the events you will include in your group's timeline. As a group, you will turn in one completed timeline presentation. And I also created another table so that you can see what you are doing as an individual and then what your group is doing. So for each year of the war, you will complete an events page. This is basically just a check-in assignment that covers information that we've been learning about in regards to maybe that particular year, or definitely that section of the textbook that we've been working in. So each individual will turn in those assignments. Okay. The one thing that's being turned in as an entire group is going to be the timeline. Okay. You will complete your timeline as a Google Slides presentation. Within your presentation, you want your slides to be visually appealing and easy to read. Be sure to use fonts, colors, and sizes that are clear and easy to read. You will also want to include title and transition slides. So, for example, you should organize your presentation like this. So, slide one should be kind of your title slide. So, you include the project title. You could include pictures on that as well to jazz it up a little bit. Then slide two would be a transition slide that's basically introducing the first year of the war. So it's Civil War 1861. Again, you can include pictures to kind of jazz up the slide. From there, slides 3 through 11 should be your 1861 events in chronological order. Okay. Now, you do not have to rotate around as far as your events categories go. So, for what I mean by that is, slide 3 could be one of the first military events that occurred in 1861. Okay, so let's say your group starts with in 1861 they start with Fort Sumter. Okay. That's the first military event. The next event that you would put on slide 4 doesn't have to be a military event. Okay. So the key to the timeline is making sure that all of your events are in the order that they occurred within that year. Okay. So from there, on slide 12, that would be your transition slide to 1862. And then slides 13 through 21 would be your 1862 events in chronological order. Slide 22 would be your transition slide to 1863. And then slides 23 to 31 would be your 1863 events in chronological order. Now, what you should do, if you have any questions about the project, you should be jotting those questions down. Tomorrow at the beginning of class, I will give you time to to ask questions that you have over the project. From here, you need to go into Canvas and you need to complete the Canvas quiz that is underneath today's date that says Timeline Project Directions Review. I would like you to complete that quiz so that I can ensure that you understand the requirements of this project. And yes, that quiz will be for a grade.